Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary, Alec Crowdhamel. Another commitment number 6 of the official visit weekend. This is from a tight end, Brady Owens, the 6'5", 230-pound prospect at a Yorktown High School in Arlington, Virginia. We talked about there's two tight ends visiting this past weekend. Which one do you think would be more likely to commit? And turns out you were right, picking Brady Owens there. He had official visits lined up for Florida State and Syracuse these next 2 weekends. Obviously, those won't be happening anymore. But how did this commitment kind of wrap up in Rutgers' favor, Rich, with him picking the Scarlet Knights?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one kind of similar to Tyler Doole that I know they didn't really expect to happen, but they thought that they had a shot depending on if the visit went well. He built a really good relationship with Scott Vallone. I know it's not a North Carolina kid, but like similar region with that Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina region that Scott Vallone's been really fond of recruiting wise. And he just built that relationship with him. And it really just kind of went from there. And they got him to campus. He loved everything about it and just sealed the deal when on campus. There's really not much more to it. It was just a matter of getting him there and just showing him actually what Rutgers is about, what Rutgers can do for you. And everyone's raved about, including Brady Owens, has raved about the relationship and the brotherhood of the family atmosphere that Rutgers actually provides. I know it's a cliche because like every school basically says culture, 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 but I feel like at Rutgers it's actually legitimately like a legit family. Like it's not just about going to football, going to practice, going home. It's more of like we care about you no matter, even if you're done with football completely. Like they still care about you. They still want to make the best for you. Make sure you're not only good players in the future, but also like good parents in the future. And Greg Schiano says this all the time, but he just wants to prepare these guys for life in general, not just football, but life after football. So it was all really big selling point for him, and that really sealed the deal there. But it was the relationships more than anything.
Yeah, and he had some pretty impressive stats for a tight end last year. He was first team all-district, honorable all-state, first team all-region, 41 catches for 521 yards, 4 touchdowns, and his highlight tape said he had 37 pancake blocks as well. Speaking of his highlight tape, Alec, what from his tape really impressed you about Brady Owens?
Yeah, he was definitely a versatile tight end. He had a lot of the stats through the air, but he also had some solid carries on the ground. I think it said he had 5 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown from the Max Prep stats that I was looking at. So, yeah, pretty solid. Also, the biggest thing that kind of sticks out in terms of how he fits at Rutgers, he's a very willing blocker. As basically another offensive lineman, like you said, with his highlight tape sticking out the pancake blocks, it's kind of like a big focus of that, and that's pretty important in this Rutgers offense where the tight ends are at times basically a 6th offensive lineman, more so than a lot of other offenses where tight ends are involved. So that was the biggest thing that stuck out to me was a lot of his blocking as well. So I think that makes it a really good fit for Rutgers. And yeah, we're seeing Rutgers going to Virginia a lot more in this class. They have 3 from the state in this class. They have now Owens. They also have Desir Carter and Brandon Murray. Before that, the last commit from Virginia they had was Max Patterson. So it's been a while, but they're really starting to tap into it. I think they've just done a really good job of getting a lot more in the Southeast. We're seeing them really, like, I know this kind of, I guess you could say, kind of started in 2024, I want to say, where they start to expand the state of Rutgers, as they call it, but we're really seeing them tap into a bunch of different avenues, whether it was the 2024 class. It was kind of, the big thing was they got a lot of Midwest guys, and now they're starting to dip more into the Southeast, the North Carolinas, Virginia, Georgia, in the last couple of classes as well. So I think it's pretty interesting. I know they have, I think Eric Thames, his name is, the assistant quarterbacks coach, who has a really good relationship in the DMV. That's a lot of his area. He's done a really good job of recruiting that area. So I think this is also an area that has a lot of talent. They also had Kedrick Golston, the second on campus, a linebacker as well from Stonebridge High School. So yeah, it's definitely an area they're starting to get after more. And I guess one thing that I'm curious on is if they're done at tight end, and I know Richie probably has some better intel on that because this is the first one that they have in this class, obviously. Last year, they only had one. That was Ben Rothar, who kind of came in late in, I want to say, August he committed last year. In 2024, they took 2 in Matthew Gooding and Monty Keener. I guess KJ Dove was technically a tight end, but now a wide receiver, obviously. And then in 2023, they only took 1 in Logan Blake. So, if one of the other targets, I know they're going after. They were looking at also DJ Howerton, who was on campus this weekend, and Javonte Williams, who I think is the 13th. I want to say. I know that I'm sure if one of those 2 guys, really wants to commit to Rutgers, I don't think they'll say no. But I'm also curious how they continue to attack that position in recruiting, because they haven't taken a lot of tight ends in recent classes. So we'll see if that continues or if they kind of change up and start to take more this year.
So
Yeah,
they will
and
take
watching
2. Just FYI.
They're going to take 2.
They're going to take 2, FYI. They feel good about Howerton after the visit. They don't think he's going to side right now, so wait and see what happens there. Ronaldo Callaway technically could play edge or tight end, so that's one to keep an eye on too. And then they're going to host Dante Carr next weekend, who I mentioned before in the Adam Shaw podcast. He's a quarterback. We saw him even play quarterback in a camp, but he's being recruited as a tight end.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
It wouldn't shock me if he was a tight end commit by the end of next weekend. So we'll wait and see, but wink, wink.
Well, that's a heck of a tease. I do like what I saw on his tape. Brady Owens is just a very natural pass catcher. He's got some legit speed for a tight end. I'm not saying he's like a 4.5 guy, but he breaks away pretty regularly from the linebackers and safeties when he's out in the short to intermediate routes. I did also think it was interesting how they kind of used him all over the field. Like they ran him, they were running sweeps to their tight end, which is not common. Definitely not a guy who's going to play early. He's going to need to pack on some weight. He's very wiry in his frame right now.
Yeah.
But if he can add, 25 pounds by the time he's a redshirt freshman, maybe he's on the field. We shall see. Tight ends are they're not quite as, they don't take quite as long to, let's say, bake in the oven as linemen do, but it's damn close. They need a lot of physical development once they get to college. But anything else on Brady Owens before we head out here?
Technically, he was considered a Florida State lean at one point because he actually grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. So there's a lot of connections there, a lot of family still down there. So there was always a feeling that Florida State might be the team to beat. But Rutgers, again, ended up beating out Syracuse, beating out a couple others too, Virginia Tech, Kentucky. So this is just another really good win for Rutgers. You should – I don't want to say you should be beating out these programs because it's hard to pull a kid out of Virginia when you have like Kentucky and Virginia Tech and all that. But the fact that they are beating out these programs and beating out Florida State even is an accomplishment in its own right. Like these are some big wins for Rutgers, even though the recruiting stars aren't the best in the world sometimes. They're still beating out several notable programs. And I mean, we're talking about a number 13 overall Rutgers recruiting class right now. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's because they have a bunch of commitments. Well, so does everyone else. So it's really not the case anymore. Like they have 13 commitments, whereas who's above them right now? They have 16 commitments. Read that wrong. Whereas like everyone else has 16, 17, 16, 17, 17, 18, 17, 27. And that's why they're number 1 right now, USC. But like Rutgers – damn good recruiting class. This might be one of their best ever. Like I don't think people are like understanding how good of a class this is right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. This is a hell of a performance by Greg Schiano. They have 6 and his staff. They have 6 4-stars in the class so far, and I don't think that'll be the final number by any means either. All right, well, thanks for listening into these commitment pods. If you guys liked this format, let us know. If not, we'll scrap it. We'll do something different for next week. But for me and Richie and Alec, this has been another edition of the Net Report Podcast. Signing off.